Hello YouTube, it's me. Okay, obviously this is a pre-recorded video. I was gonna go live and do this, but I felt like I would have too much distractions. So part of what I'm doing on this channel is I am gonna use it for like readings and stuff like that, right? But I think before I get started with all of that, like the next part of my journey, I need to talk about my journey. So many of us right now are going through a spiritual awakening, grand awakening on this earth plane, right? How did we get here? How were the chosen ones chosen? How did we know? A lot of us, the chosen ones, it wasn't something that, you know, with this grand scheme that's going on the earth plane where everyone's waking up. This has been something that we have battled all of our lives. Right? And this journey for me has not been easy. And I just want to say right from the beginning, I probably am not going to say like my family members' names. I just don't, you know, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get anybody in trouble or anything like that. But anybody who knows me, you guys will be able to fit names where whatever, right? And it's not even about bringing them down. It's not even about hurting anybody. It's about me living my truth. It's about me really evolving from everything that I've been through. I am no angel in any of it. You know what I mean? I had my time in the darkness. I played, you know, in the devil's kitchen. I wasn't always who I am right now, but it's what I'm about to, and we'll probably do this in parts. What I'm about to bring you guys into is my truth, is my journey, right? And I feel like my story is going to help so many of you because as me, a lot of you guys are born into these dark families. I need y'all to know that, you know, black magic is very real. Secret societies, very real. I don't know about you guys, but do you guys ever like leave your house and feel like it's almost like the Truman Show? Is that what it's called? Where you just feel like you're being watched from everybody. It doesn't matter where I go, someone's always watching me. Like I always feel like someone's like, you know what I mean, reporting back to headquarters about what's Tanya doing? What is she up to? How many people has she healed? How many, you know, hurdles can we throw at her to try and distract her? And this has been something that has gone on all of my life. It's sometimes, you know, I've said this to my soul tribe, my soul sisters, they know who they are. I feel like my life is a movie because what I'm about to tell you guys seems like just that my life was a movie. So first things first, my name is Tanya Ironchild. Born and raised in Regina, Saskatchewan. To my beautiful mother, Brenda McKenzie. My biological father is George. He is from Jamaica. He got deported when I was 18 months from my mother. My mother deported him back to Jamaica. My father broke into a jewelry store and he robbed it. And he hid all the jewelry in my mom's attic. I was born and I was 18 months. My mom just got on social assistance and she was waiting for a check. It was like $3,200 because they were paying her like back pay, right? Because I was born and all the money that they owed her, right? So she was waiting for like a $3,000 check. I ran out of formula and diapers. And my biological father decided, so he was with a girl, and I'm not going to say her name either, but I have a biological brother here in Saskatchewan as well that I don't bother with. And we'll talk about that too as we go through the parts of my life. So he was seeing this other girl who was also pregnant at that time, but I was already 18 months. So there's a little bit of a gap between my brother and I. He came and took my mom's check and he was able to cash it, which left my mom with no formula and no diapers for me. My mom always said, hurt me, but you hurt my kids. I'm coming for you. She tried to get a hold of him. He was, playing the duck like, every other Jamaican man. I don't want to put everybody in that category. I shouldn't say that, but back then, I don't want to put everybody in that category, but, my mom couldn't get a hold of him. And she always said, you hurt me, but don't ever hurt my kids, right? And that is a phrase that I live by till this day as well. I learned that from my mom. No man will ever come before your kids, ever, right? Me and my sisters, I will proudly say that we've never chosen men over our children, ever, and we never would. So my mom ended up calling the officer who was on the case for this jewelry store heist. I have the article and everything still. She called him and let that officer know where everything was. So my mom got my dad deported back to Jamaica. Now we'll go through life after that. That's how Tanya became to be. Now Tanya Ironchild, how she became to be. I was 7 years old, I do believe I was, because my baby sister was 3. So 7 years old when my dad, who I call my dad, came into our life, Mike Ironchild. That's how I am Tanya Ironchild now. My dad came in, met my mom. It was literally love at first sight. I remember my mom and my baby sister, they would leave often to go and visit my dad in the pen. My stepdad, my biological father. Now, you guys, when I say dad from here on out, I just want you to know that I'm talking about my dad, Michael Ironchild. That's my dad. My biological is George. And that was the only reason I needed to explain him, was that reason right there. Okay. So I had wounds already from a very early age. Okay. George is out of the picture. And again, when we get into that part of my life, we'll get into it, but he does come back into my life. Okay, so now dad's here. My mom meets my dad, and it was literally love at first sight. My mom saw him in good old Jolly Rogers, if anybody is familiar with Regina. She saw him and she said, I'm gonna marry you. He looked at my mom and he said, okay, right? Like, just as a joke. Him and my cookum ended up going home with my mom that night, and they drank and they partied. And long story short, my dad never left. He stayed. And he told my cookum, I'm going to marry her. Can I marry her, Mom? And my cookum told him, yes, you can, my boy. And so that's how Mom and Dad came. Throughout my life, I was always gifted. I was always connected to source. I used to have visions when I was little that I could fly. I would see myself, I remember these visions very vividly. I would see myself with beings, very alien looking when I was growing up. I would go down to my house on 1404 King Street into the basement, and I would talk to entities down there. I didn't know then, but it was them getting energy, trying to figure out who I am at a very young age, right? When you are a chosen one, you are born with this gift. You already have that red target on your back. You come into this earth not knowing who you are, because that was part of my contract, right? I remember, talking to the animals when I was young. Dragonflies were my best friends. I remember my Auntie Jerry, my late Auntie Jerry, my Uncle Brad's wife. She used to just watch me and laugh at me. Oh, my girl, you like the bugs, hey? I said, yeah, I like them. They're nice. I play with grasshoppers and ants and, all of the stuff that kids these days don't do. You know what I mean? I would always connect with the elements. I'm an earth sign, a Capricorn. So I was always like that, right? Very connected and kind of living in my own little realm all of my life. Now, when we think about my spiritual journey, and the point of me doing these videos is just to bring awareness, and I hope that my story inspires other people to always live their truth. Because there has been, throughout my spiritual journey, so much shit that was put on me, so much confusion, so much hurt, and so much pain that was never mine to carry. And if I could help somebody, just one person, then I did my job of releasing this. I've never told you guys the truth on everything. You know, I know you guys know about my drug use throughout my life. Again, that will be another part that we get into, right? But there's some pretty dark things that happened in my childhood that I remember, and it's really sad, and I've never really spoken much on it. There was sexual abuse that happened to me when I was young. There was a seance that was done to me, and I don't remember how old I was. But I remember one of my sisters were there. Again, I don't want to say any names, okay? An uncle was there, and cousins were there. And I remember them, like, doing this seance around me, right? I remember I looked over at my sister, and she was, like, speaking in tongues and, like, conjuring some kind of entity, right? And I was told to sit down, sit there, right? And now that I'm older and I'm remembering these things, it's almost like there was an illusion put on my mind on not to talk about this. Don't you do it. You know what I mean? But now that I am so connected with God, and I am back to that connection with source, true divine source from the highest of the high, all of these things that happened in my life are starting to come back out, and I'm getting more pulled day by day to share my story. Like I said, I feel like so many of you are going to resonate. So there was this moment, I don't even remember whose house it was in, but there was a bunch of candles lit, and they were all gathering around this table, and they were conjuring something. You know, when you're Roman Catholic, you don't speak in tongues in a Roman Catholic. And that's what we were raised, was Roman Catholic, right? And it's like, there was something very, very strange that was going on. And I remember not feeling right, but they just kept telling me to sit down, to sit down. What are you supposed to do as a little girl, right? You're surrounded by people who love you, and you are raised that they are your family, right? You don't think that they're putting something bad on you. You don't think that they're doing a ritual on you, right? And was that what was happening? They'll never admit it, because by admitting it, that means that they take accountability, and no one in my family is going to take accountability. And I'm okay with being called the crazy one, right? Like, she's nuts. I'm okay with all of that. Again, this isn't any of their truth. I'm not looking for validation from anybody. I am just saying my truth. That's it, right? And so there was that happened. I remember always being connected to source, okay? Even growing up, I would get questions from my family members like, what should I do? What's your thought on this? And it's like, they would ask me questions that you probably shouldn't ask a little kid. You know what I mean? Like, why are you asking me? You know, like, you come with me. It's almost like I have been my family's shield, right? Like, you come with me, you stay with me, you stay close to me. And I never, again, thought about it until, as I'm older now and I'm looking back at my life, I'm like, you fuckers knew who I was before I knew who I was, right? And it's like, they have really painted this picture to me, that they have nothing but love and support for me, but none of them support me. And they were the first ones to stick the knives in my back. When we get into my spiritual awakening part, I don't know how many parts this is going to be. But when we get into that part, that's where you're going to see the real spiritual warfare going on. There were some pretty bad things that were done to me at my apartment. And I don't even know, you know, like, people might go to jail and stuff too, you know, for the things that were done. But anyways, okay, so now we're in my life. My dad's around, mom's together. Growing up, there was this one friend in elementary school, and I remember We were allowed to go to their house after school. And the dad was home, and we went downstairs. My sister Patricia went to go play with the older sister, and the son was playing outside. There was other kids because kids all went there. And the dad's like, oh, do you want to play on the computer? And I never seen a computer before, right? I was like, oh, what is that? He's like, come sit on my lap. So I went to go sit on his lap. And I remember his hands going down my pants. And he kept telling me to be quiet. I'm not going to hurt you. And it was at a very early age that I was exposed to that my body didn't mean anything, and that my innocence could just get taken away. He told me to be quiet and not tell anybody, and I was afraid to go over there after that. We did go over there one other time, and he did it again. And every time that we were supposed to go over there, or everyone wanted to go play over there, I wouldn't go. And I kept that secret with me all of my life. But I remember it. And I don't know if he did it to my sister too, but I remember my sister sitting on his lap. And she wouldn't say anything to me. Like, I would look at her. And I didn't say anything to her like, hey, did he do this to you? Right? But I remember her sitting on his lap, and then I went outside and I came back. She was still sitting on his lap. And I went outside again. And then when she came up, I was like looking at her like, tell me, did he do it to you too? Right? And I was just staring. And I never brought that up again. There's moments, my one uncle, I was very, very close with one uncle when I was younger. And I always slept in his bed. Now there's two moments that I can recall when I was young. I don't know where everybody was. Maybe my mom went out because she did go out a lot, and she would leave us at home with him. He would babysit. And I went into the basement because he always lived with my mom. And I crawled into his bed. Because that was my favorite uncle, right? But there's two times that I remember I totally, completely blacked out. I still don't know. I can't even make accusations, but I'm just going to tell you what happened. You know when you lay down in a bed and then you can feel somebody's body press up against you, and then a hand go around you? That's all I remember. And then it's like, why can't I remember anymore? I remember waking up in the morning and I just went about my day. Now, I don't know what happened there. I've been trying to release that, and I feel like the more and more I heal, more and more memories will come out. And then there was another moment at their place, at my aunt and uncle's place, that same thing happened. Now, I don't know if that was something that would happen because it is said that this uncle likes boys, not girls, right? So I don't know. And maybe that's why that story was painted to me of like, oh no, he likes boys, right? So then to repress really what happened, that very well could be, I don't know, right? So that was another trauma that I carried. Now I love my mom more than anything in the world, but it was hard for her. She had 4 daughters, and we all had different dads. And she was broken. because my grandma left this world early. So I grew up in an alcoholic home. I remember there was a moment, there's this guy, I can't remember his name, but he was dating my mom. And he got up. And I got up to pee, and I peeked my head around the corner, and he was walking in my kitchen, butt naked. Butt naked, you guys. I was like, whoa. So I went pee, and I went into the room. Me and my sister Patricia always shared a room. And I was like, there's a naked guy out there. I whispered to her. And she said, don't go out the room. Because she always protected me, my sister Patricia. So there was moments in my life when I would see men. It wasn't lots, you know what I mean? Like, my mom was very classy. Very classy. Out of her sisters, she had the most regards for herself, you know what I mean? When my mom loved, she loved hard. And if she was with you, she was with you. You know what I mean? She wasn't like this loosey-goosey. Some of her sisters were like that. But that's not, you know, I don't need to sit here and be like, oh, this one did. I'm not going to do all that, right? Because I love my aunties, and they too were hurt, right? They too experienced molestation and hurt and pain, right? My mom did too. There has been a lot of darkness in my family for a really long time. There's been a lot of hurt, a lot of divide. But one thing I know is we always came together, you know, when it came to scrapping. You fuck around with one of us, it was all of us. You know, we were raised that way. But there was a lot of like jealousy, unspoken jealousy, you know, you could see it. People always had a lot to say about my mom and her kids, us girls. And I'm telling you right now, my mom would be really, really proud of us, you know, for fighting this diversity that's been going on in our family. She'd be really proud. I know she's really upset with what has taken place with my spiritual awakening. I know she's proud of me. I can't say about, you know, anybody else, but I know my mommy's proud of me because she's coming and she's told me. She's been my right hand, her and my sister and my cousin, helping me through my journey, right? And helping me remember and helping me release. So my childhood was not easy. I ate porridge with no sugar, no milk. You know, there was times when, and that's one thing about my mom, is we never went hungry because, yeah, there might have been moments when we were like, when's our next meal? Or, Mom, when are you going to get groceries? You know, I used to get teased when I was young because my dessert was ketchup and bread, right? I was excited when my mom was able to afford a little thing of ketchup and a loaf of good bread, right? That was decadent. That was, delicioso for me, right? So life was not easy growing up. But I remember the love of my sister, my deceased sister, Patricia. I don't care what anybody says, that woman loved me. She took care of me. She would take lickings for me. If I did something wrong and she knew my mom was drunk and was going to get mad, she would say, she didn't do that, I did. And it's like, I don't know how to explain her soul. Like, there was nothing that could hurt her, you know? Nothing could hurt my sister. My mom's solid. We're all solid women, but she would take her punches and her lickings, hey? And she knew I couldn't handle that. I'd just be a big baby. So she'd always take lickings for me. And then we grew up. I remember as I was growing up, we were not rich by any means. I don't even think we were middle class. But my mom did her damn best to give to us girls. You know, I come from a family of hustlers. That's how we survived. My mom was a drug dealer. She used to sell pills. And she would take something and she would turn it into thousands of dollars. And she made sure that we lived a good life, that we had, you know, name brand stuff. Once we got old enough to like get our hair braided and stuff like that, she would pay for that to get done. Our Christmases were absolutely magnificent. And I remember my mom just getting so stressed out to make sure that we had good Christmases. Life might have been hard and difficult growing up in an alcoholic home, but that's one thing that I'll never doubt is the love that my mother had for her children. And the love that she had for me. Now, I'm about 10 years old and we move into 977 Robinson. I hate that house. That was my first encounter knowing that I'm very gifted. I don't know why my uncle took my sister Patricia that night and my sister, my baby sister, but he took them to his house on Christmas Eve. This is why I don't like spending Christmas Eve alone. It is about 3 o'clock in the morning and I get woken up to, I hear that on the wall. Well, at 10 years old, because we kept the faith alive in my house, okay? If you didn't believe in Santa, I guess you ain't getting shit. You literally getting a lump of coal. So I'm like, Santa's here. And I hear it again. Boom, boom, boom. This time I get a very eerie, scary feeling. Very scary. I was like, what is that? And then I hear it again. Then I hear this intrusive voice that says, go to the room, go to the room. It wasn't a familiar voice. It wasn't an angelic voice. It was just intrusive. Like, I am scared, I am fearful, and the first thing I hear is go to the room. So I go run to my sister Patricia's room. I lay down in the bed. I turn to face the window, which the door's over here, the bed's over here, okay? Window's right there. So my back is to the door. You know that feeling when you know somebody's watching you? Yeah, that feeling. I could feel it staring at me. I turn around. All of a sudden, I see this dark shadow. And I'm sure so many of you guys had the exact same experience because this motherfucker was wreaking havoc on our generation, let me tell you.